And welcome into another Dooley Noted Podcast, presented, of course, by Titan MRI and ABC Fine Wine and Spirits. So great to have Joe be such a big part of our golf tournament this year, which was Saturday. You want to know how it was? I'll tell you, it was great. The weather was perfect. You couldn't have scripted it any better. Everybody seemed to have a good time, and everybody seemed to walk away with prizes of some kind. And I will tell you, the Spurrier dinner that we talked about here at the Spurrier Grill when that opens up in June, dinner for 8 with Coach and me, and apparently they want me to serve the drinks, which is fine. But that went for $3,500. So excited about that. We did raise a record number. I don't have exact numbers right now, but I think we're right around 25,000 to stop children's cancer, and boom, just hand it to them, walk away, and hope that they can use it for the best of their abilities, and I know they will, because they do a great job. It's exhausting. I'm tired from doing it, and it was kind of fun that and by the way, I do want to say thank you to so many people, but it's like I'm at the Oscars. I can't thank everybody, so, but obviously Freddie, who I deal with on this podcast and who's been a big part of this podcast, I appreciate him so much, and he really made a difference in our tournament this year. Freddie Wiebe, of course. I can go all day. Leonardo's, who was a title sponsor. Titan MRI, who was a title sponsor. Yeah, they're all up here too. These are just guys who just are friends of mine and believe in me, and I don't know why they do, but they do, and I like it. I like that they care about me, and it's been great. So Sunday, I decided, a great decompression would be to go to the baseball game. What I didn't know is they were going to decompress the baseballs and Florida wouldn't be able to hit, but it was okay. And that's how good that stadium is, I'm telling you. That I went to the stadium and kind of moved around into some different spots, and I had a blast, and Florida got beat, and they really weren't very competitive. I mean, had a lot of chances. They lost 6-1. They could have just 1 or 2 hits, and next thing you know, it would have been 6-5. But that didn't happen. Those things happen in baseball, and it was certainly not a good loss. But again, this is a team that has got a resume full of bad losses. It's just the way they are. Think about it. This week, they lost 2 games to Stetson, and Georgia scored a total of 2 runs. This is one of the best hitting teams I've seen in Florida, and yet they still managed to do that. Of course, the news came out about softball being a number 4 seed. By losing that game to to Alabama in the SEC tournament, it's kind of where they became the 4 and Alabama the 3. A lot of controversy about where some teams are seeded, especially the Pac-12 is not happy. And I think there's part of me that just goes, hey, Pac-12, get your act together and then we'll talk, because you guys have just botched pretty much everything. You were the conference of champions, and now you're the conference of chumps. You can't get into the college football playoffs. You've got nobody. You just hired finally a commissioner, and it turns out he's worked mostly with entertainers. I mean, what are you doing out there? It's your problem. We're not going to worry about it, but it's going to be fun to have actually at 2 o'clock next Friday, when we'll be doing the show, the Gator softball team will be playing their first round game against USF. So we'll try to give you updates as well as much as we can for that. We got a great show today. Scott Stricklin, the athletic director at the University of Florida, will join us in just a minute. And Michael Casagrande, a good friend of mine from AL.com, will talk, because if we go around the SEC, we'll not only talk Alabama football with him, but we'll talk a little softball with him, because it is Gainesville and Knoxville and now Arkansas, and Tuscaloosa are cities in this conference where it is a huge deal, and how important it is. And I know that everybody is excited about a regional being here next week for the softball team, and then you hope that nothing goes. I mean, look, Florida's getting ready to go out and play Arkansas, 3-game series, number 1 team in the land. You can't get swept. If you get swept and then you go 2 and barbecue in the SEC tournament, you may be going on the road for the first round. Florida's probably not hosting a second round, but you never know. Things can happen. I found out last week that if Florida, whoever, it's not one of these deals where you have to go wherever the regional was slated in terms of the second round, the super regionals. So if Florida could win and somebody in the other bracket, it would we don't know who it'll be, of course, would lose. They could still host a super regional as well. And they should. It'd be great because that ballpark, people need to be at that ballpark. There's no question about it. It is really one of my favorite things in the world. One of the things that will happen because of the NCAA is taking control of the crowds, and it'll be, I believe I'm right on this, I think it's going to be 50%. I'll ask Scott Stricklin about this. 50% capacity, which is good in a way for Florida and some other teams who were right around there anyway, but for schools like Mississippi State, who are like a billion percent, they're going to have to cut back. So, what it should mean is that home field's not as much of an advantage, but it's still an advantage. All right, right now we are going to go talk to one of my favorite people in the world, the athletic director of the University of Florida, Scott Stricklin. And Scott, you had a kind of a fun weekend, but there was a lot of ups and downs in it, right?
Wow, that was like a whole 48 hours ago. Pat, I'm having a hard time remembering what happened this weekend. No, softball had a little run. That single elimination tournament always makes for interesting outcomes, but a nice little run by Coach Walton continues, and baseball won another series, and track was competing, lacrosse advanced to the Elite Eight. So it's all coming back to me now. Thanks for jogging my memory.
Yeah, and I think you won. You won your 251st SEC title last week, right?
Correct. Softball's walk-off at A&M gave the Gators we added to the 250 number.
Yeah. What's your goal by the time you leave office? Like 350,000 or?
I don't really have one. I want one more than Jeremy, but I don't think I'm going to get that. I don't think I started too late in life.
By the way, are Scott Stricklin and you related to George Stokes?
Not that I know of, but we both. He's from Ohio. My line of Stricklins are from Kentucky, and I think some of the Stricklins in my line ended up in Ohio. And ironically enough, not only do we have the same name, our fathers are both named David. Oh. So there might be a connection way back there somewhere.
All right, let's talk about crowds, because that's something I want to talk to you about, not only for football next year, but baseball and softball this year. Are you cool with the NCAA deciding how this is going to go down rather than allow the individual, sites to do that?
I'd like to see it all back to normal. So I don't want to pile on the NCAA. Everybody else seems to do that pretty well, but
it's pretty easy, by the way.
Yeah, I'd love to see it go back to normal, but I've not heard that they're inclined to do that. I think we're right on the cusp. It hasn't happened yet, but I think we're getting close to be in a position. Certainly by the fall, it may just be a couple weeks away, but. It's been so nice to go to the sporting events and have people there, and we're just not at like baseball and softball the last couple of weekends, and tennis. There's a vibe and there's an energy. We're not piping in fake noise anymore because we've got enough of the real thing, and so there's like one little hurdle left to go, and now that the mask ordinances are being relaxed, and I think the next thing to go will be the social distancing here on campus.
Scott, can you talk about the aggressiveness that you and everybody at the university showed in trying to get people vaccinated, and how I think you have a large number of your student athletes are now vaccinated?
Yeah, over 71% as of this morning of our student athletes have had at least one dose, which is a remarkable effort by our sports medicine staff, our coaches, and obviously our athletes understanding the value of that. And it's helping move things along. So there's, there seems to be pretty good buy-in, and obviously it kind of mirrors what we're seeing in society and across this campus. Alachua County as a whole, as you know, Pat, has done better than the state averages as far as percentage of people getting vaccinated. I think that's just going to help us all get back to what we want, which is a more normal sports season.
And now the plan, as we sit here today, is wide open stadium, but who knows where we're going to be in September. Do you have any feel, though, for what it's going to be like in terms of numbers for their opening day? Do you think it's going to be, hey, everybody's so happy to get back, it'll be a full stadium, or there's still going to be people that are trepidatious about going over to the stadium?
It's a great question, Pat. You probably need a sociologist as a guest to ask that question of. It's really, athletic directors probably are not the really well versed in how people respond coming out of pandemics. However, if I mentioned this to you before, if you study what happened 100 years ago in the Spanish flu pandemic, the decade that came after that was known as the Roaring Twenties, right? It was known for its social excess. And even in the last, 15 months, as locations and parts of the country have opened up and have allowed for restaurants to be open or bars to be open, or in some cases, major league ballparks with full crowds allowed, people don't seem hesitant. So just the examples of it we've seen seem to indicate that people will come back, and especially with the positive results we're seeing from vaccines and the way that's performing, I think that's only going to give people more confidence that it's going to be okay to come back and be together.
Are you going to be like a happier guy this year because you're not on the football playoff committee?
I'll tell you what, it'll be nice having my Mondays and Tuesdays in November. I can devote fully to the Gators. Yeah, that's there's no good committee, right? Is there ever a committee that people go, wow, they did a great job? That just never happens. No. And so, there's always going to be discussion and debate. I guess that's good for the sport, and whether it's basketball or football or baseball or softball or anything else. But it was a fun committee to serve on, and Mitch Barnhart from Kentucky is going to take my place representing the SEC, and I know Mitch will do a great job, and I'll have to make sure and send him nice gifts leading up to the votes to help the Gators out.
Was he your boss at one time?
He was. I worked for him. I had good job reviews, so hopefully that'll help.
That's a good play. Hey, now we've seen all this discussion about expanded playoffs, and sometimes I think, Scott, that this is more of a talk radio story than it is a real story. We know that there's going to be expansion at some point. It feels inevitable. But what's your sense of what the people that matter, which would be the people, obviously, the presidents and the people in the, with the 5 conferences, what is your sense of where they're heading right now?
That's a great question, Pat. I can't answer that because, other than Commissioner Sankey, who's made his comments, he's made his thoughts known publicly. I haven't talked to any of the other commissioners. And you've heard my comment before, which is I think we need to do whatever we can to make football's postseason more meaningful, because we're seeing a situation where for a lot of teams the evidence is it's not very meaningful, and by that I mean you have forget this year, but in normal years you have players opting out. We had it this year certainly as well, but you have people players skipping the bowl games. They don't skip playoffs, they skip bowl games. You see fans not showing up at bowl games like they used to. And I'm not saying the bowl games don't have a place. They're certainly valuable, and they've served college football well for a long time. But I don't know what the exact answer is, but I think whatever it is, the goal should be to make football postseason more valuable, and by valuable I mean more meaningful.
Well, Scott, what as you go forward with this thing, and I mean you've been here a while now, you're experienced as the Florida athletic director, and you've been through it. And is there anything that has surprised you, or is it so much fun for you just to kind of watch this consistent excellence that goes on here?
It's a lot of fun. You're right. You're you're bouncing around this time of year between, SEC track championships and SEC, runs. And then, we found out last night softball's hosting NCAA's this weekend. Obviously, our men's tennis team is competing this week down in Orlando at the national tournament. Baseball's gearing up, track and field, NCAA's are coming up. This is a lot of fun. And it's not just this time of year, right? We get it throughout the year. And it is, it really makes it enjoyable. If you're a competitor, that's what makes Florida so special is you got great support, you got great fans, you have access, you're able to attract the very best student athletes, the very best coaches to coach them. And, you put all that together and allows you to do some really special things. And there's a reason, the Gators have won a national title for 11 straight school years and have, I think it's 11 straight years, top 5 in the Directors Cup, and continue to routinely win the SEC All Sport. There's just a lot of things in place here that it's incumbent upon us to continue to support at a high level and make sure that continues. And but yeah, I mean, if you're a competitor, who doesn't like winning, Pat? That's it makes it a lot of fun.
Are you excited at all that Baylor's coming to town?
I'm looking forward to seeing Glenn Moore, their coach. I was working at Baylor when Glenn got hired there, so he's been there a long time, close to 20 years. So yeah, that'd be great. I'm more looking forward to watching the Gators get a chance to do what they didn't, what none of our teams could do last year in the spring, which is compete in NCAA regional and try to make another trip to Oklahoma City. But it's always fun this time of year. You get to see other teams and other schools that are not normally on your schedule because the way the regionals usually work out, where we get a little variety. That's kind of nice.
I didn't even know where Waco was until I met you in Waco that time when you were sports information director, and you got stuck with a through and through team.
Yeah, smack dab in the middle of the state, man. It's hard to miss.
I know where it is now. There's no doubt about it. So obviously you've got a interesting fall coming up, and I think but you still got to get through this great part of the season. One of my favorite parts of the season when you have baseball and softball postseason, and that, I think one cool thing about both of them is they're identified by the city. We're trying to get to Oklahoma City. We're trying to get to Omaha. And that's the thing that makes it really cool.
Yeah, I agree. It's something that those two sports have done a good job of creating that brand, if you will. Getting to Oklahoma City or getting to Omaha, it's not just making a trip. It signifies you had a special year. And both softball and baseball have done a good job of creating those connections and relationships with those cities. And, it's interesting this year in basketball, since everybody went to Indianapolis, you kind of had a little bit of that in the sport of men's basketball, and women's basketball had it with San Antonio as well this year. And that's one of the concepts that came out of basketball this year was, what if the Sweet 16 were all held in one site, and what if it was in Indy every year? Sweet 16, move the Final Four around, but have Sweet 16 and move the first and second rounds to various locations. But what if the Sweet 16 were always in Indianapolis? That'd be kind of cool, right? There'd be like, hey, we got to Indy this year. That would mean you made the Sweet 16. So whether that happens, I don't know, but it is a lot of fun. And once you've had teams that have gone to those two places, Omaha and Oklahoma City, when you do get to go back, there's a lot of anticipation. You're going to a place you've been before. Your restaurants you like. What the ballparks are like, and both those sports have done a great job in that area.
Hey, last thing for you, because I got to give you one, not quite a softball question. How much did all the chirping about Mike White this season and into this off season, how much has it bothered you, or do you just because what's going on, you try not to let it bother you?
Yeah, I really don't. I try to put blinders on, and nobody hates losing more than I do. I'm gutted after a loss, and so and the thing of it is, I know our coaches are the same way in all our sports. And so, I really don't focus on those things. I focus on where direction are we going, and do we have people have faith in to get us there? And I have complete faith that Mike White's a guy who has been a part of, he's led championship teams. He's going to win championships in the future. I want him to win those championships for the Gators. And so I'm not, that's my focus, is what's going to happen next year, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. And I'm really excited and happy that we got a guy like Mike White leading that up.
Scott, it's always a pleasure, my friend, and I appreciate you coming on the show. And we'll get you on again maybe right before the start of football season. I know that there's a part of you that can't wait to see what kind of crowds are there, and just to see. I heard somebody say this, that you have the announcers, you have the lead, the color, the sideline reporter, then you have the fourth voice, and that's that stadium when it's full and it's loud, and we'd like to see it where it is a factor again, because I still say on a good day, and I go back to Auburn a couple of years ago and LSU 3 years ago, the Swamp's as tough a place to play as there is in the country.
You're exactly right about that. It's an incredibly difficult place to play, and we have some opportunities early in the year. We have an in-state opponent, FAU, coming for the season opener, and then third week of the season, Alabama, and the fourth week of the season, Tennessee, all in the Swamp. So there's going to be a great opportunity for the fans to make that impact and make that difference. And I'm excited for our fans, because they've, it's so much of what being a Gator as a football fan is coming in the Swamp and experiencing the Swamp. I always say you can watch or consume a game on TV, but you can't really experience it unless you're in the stadium. And that's going to be fun for all of us to get back together and experience some Gator football this fall.
Scott, thanks again, buddy, and we'll see you down the road. And I know we'll see you out at the softball probably this weekend. You know me,
Absolutely.
I like my softball, and so and probably the baseball next weekend. But thanks so much for joining us.
All right, Pat, take care, man. Go Gators.
All right, thanks, Scott. Scott Stricklin, the athletic director at the University of Florida, joining us here on Another Dooley Noted Podcast. We will take a break, and we'll come back with several things we have to do. As you know, we still have to do three things. We have to do the Leonardo's and Millhopper Quick Picks, the Adams Ribco Gator of the weekend as well, and we're going to bring on Michael Casagrande as well right around the bottom of the hour. For those of you watching live on YouTube or Facebook, you can do that, or you can listen to us on Spotify or any of the 39 platforms we have. And I had a lot of people at the golf tournament this weekend come up and go, "Man, I love the podcast. I love what you guys are doing." Some guy was telling me he was going to go back and watch the Shane Judd one from last week again, because he's never laughed so hard in his life. So we appreciate all those people. We appreciate all the people that are our sponsors and that will continue to be our sponsors, and the ones who want to jump on board as to be our sponsors. Look, it's a tough summer, and then we'll get to where it's fun in the middle of July. Booyah! You want to be around for SEC Media Days. You want to be on Another Dooley Noted Podcast for SEC Media Days. I am going to have so much fun with that, because I've got so many things I want to do. Right now, what I want to do is take a break. We'll do that. We'll come back with more of Another Dooley Noted Podcast. Appreciate you. Thanks so much to our title sponsors, ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI, and to our pick sponsor, Leonardo's of Millhopper. You can find us live on Facebook and YouTube, or listen at your leisure on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you find all your favorite podcasts. I'm excited to continue this podcast and to have your company on board as a sponsor. If you're interested in being part of the show, email me at patrickdooley54@gmail.com or give me a call, 352-317-3444. You can get your favorite alcoholic brands from ABC Fine Wine and Spirits delivered right to your door. ABC Delivers is available in Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, and all of the Southeast Florida. Earn ABC points for coupons and free bottles through abcdelivers.com. It's powered by FedEx Same Day City, and you're going to love the price. Free with a $50 purchase for the first 7 miles. So wine, spirits, beer, and everything you need to celebrate Get it delivered. Shop abcdelivers.com. This is Pat Dooley, and I want to tell you about my friends at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. I'm a member, and you should be too. It's the oldest Gator booster club in the world and a great place to meet new friends, network with prominent business people, and hear a great collection of speakers, including Dan Mullen, throughout the football season. Go ahead and give John Stevens a call at 352-222-8516 or sign up on the website, quarterbackclub.org.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Hey, welcome in. Appreciate it. We took a little quick break there. I was having a little trouble with my headphones, and we'll get that resolved and bring on Michael Casagrande at the bottom of the hour. But right now, it is time for Three Things. Three Things is presented by Hand Law, a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. So three things today. We start with number one. Again, I don't pay attention to the NBA much of the year. It's just not in my wheelhouse. I'm a college sports guy, and but all of a sudden I get a notice that, okay, we're set for a play-in game, LeBron versus Steph. I'm like, I'm in. Count me in for that. I'm all in for that. Okay, then I find out the way they've set it up, because again, I know that they were complaining about the playoffs before the play-in games and everything like that, but I find out that it's, the winner moves on to the next level. The loser does too. The loser gets to play against two other teams, or the winner of the 9 or the 10, I don't know, 9-10 game. It's so convoluted. Then I find out that the game is Wednesday. Cool. That'll be a great way to start my weekend. My weekend will start Wednesday night because we have the PGA coming up, and I can't wait for that. Obviously, Gator softball coming up. Huge series for Gator baseball. So my weekend's going to start Wednesday night. Then I found out the game is Wednesday night at 10 o'clock. Now, I know I'm just a sad old man, but I'm not staying up till 10 o'clock to watch the start of a game. What time is it going to finish? 1 in the morning? No. I'm curious to see one. I'll wake up first thing in the morning, check my phone out, see it. But I understand they're playing at 10 because, obviously in the West Coast that's 7 o'clock, and it's going to probably do pretty good ratings, but not at 10 o'clock for me. No, sorry. But that's the thing. The loser of the game doesn't lose. You can't call it a playing game. I'm sorry. It's not a playing game, and it's not even a play-out game. It's not even an elimination game. It's just the goofiest thing I've ever heard of. Number two on Three Things, presented by Hand Law. This was a sad story that made me, grimace thinking about some of the other hoaxes that have been portrayed. And you may have read about this kid, Jontarius Bryant from Austin Peay, defensive back. And he got a call from the general manager of the Atlanta Falcons. We want you to come in and be a free agent and get a workout. So he showed up. Turned out he got catfished. And so now he has had to turn around and go home. We didn't ask you to come, and we feel terrible about it. We wish we could do something to help you, but we only have so much room, and that's going to be basically our camp. It's going to be these guys, not you. I'm sorry. We never called you. Somebody else called you. You got to be either really mad at somebody or just really a bad human being, or maybe both, to do that to anybody. I did not. That story made me sad. I'd like to see him get some kind of award or something. And finally, give on Three Things. Again, we do this a lot on Three Things. We give out a hand to lacrosse, which because they're not in the SEC, there is no SEC for lacrosse. We tend to look past a little bit, but they are now moving on to play Syracuse in the quarterfinals of the NCAA tournament, and with a big win over Jacksonville, 17-3. After JU is one of the 2 teams that's beaten Florida this year. So Florida just said we're going to fix the problems we had in that 5-4 loss, and they won 17-3. So I'm going to go on the record and say they fixed their problems. So that is Three Things presented by Hand Law. Right now, we are going to bring on a great guy, one of the best writers in the business, Michael Casagrande from AL.com. You can read him in so many. How many papers do you write for now?
It's still 3: the Birmingham News, Huntsville Times, Mobile Press Register.
Do you have to write different stories for each one?
No, not at all.
No. That would make it hard.
Yeah, no, I mean it's we pretty much write for the web, and the newspapers pick what they want for the print.
Right. All right. So let's talk. We've been going around the SEC and talking football, and we saved Alabama for like right in the middle because they're middle of the pack team, as we all know. Mm-hmm. They rarely win anything, so we went with Alabama in the middle. But I mean, it's the same story every year. You lose coaches, you lose great players, you don't lose Nick. And so guess what? You're still going to be the overwhelming favorite to win the West and to win the entire SEC.
That's true. It can get, I know it sounds kind of funny to I don't know, complain about it or whatnot, but it can sometimes get monotonous because the story kind of remains the same every year. There's not much fluctuation. They're always pretty good. They're always really good, and they're always in that contention for national championships. And it can kind of feel like the same thing every day at a certain point, in coverage standpoint. But it's it's an exciting time to be around people around here. People are fired up, so it's always better to be around happy people than angry people. But it can be a lot of the same things. A lot of times covering the same.
What is the average Alabama fans feeling about everybody saying we've got to expand the playoffs because we need more teams and we don't like this being this sameness, and Alabama fans are going, we're okay with it. We're pretty good with it.
Yeah, I haven't heard that much real chatter because I don't think that, I know it sounds terrible. It's like the expand the playoff, it probably helped them a few times, but for the most part, they've been in the top 4 all but one of the years of the playoffs since 2014. So they haven't really been scraping, to get into the playoffs too many times. I guess they were a 4 seed before, but 2019 was the only year they didn't make the playoff in the 4 teams, configuration. So they're not really that desperate for 8 teams because they've been kind of comfortable in the 4.
What do you think? Do you think? I mean, it feels like it's going to go to 8 or maybe 12. I mean, it's funny how we hopped right over 6. Everybody was like, okay, we finally got to 4. Nobody was satisfied with that. And then there was a feeling like, well, how about 6? That way you could get all the champions in. And then all of a sudden it went, no, 8 or 12. We got to get as many in as possible.
Yeah, the 8 seems more like 6. That would mean 2 teams get a bye, and then that would pretty much create, there'd be a lot of complaints about teams not having to face as many games, as many exposures. So I think if they're going to expand, 8 seems like the right number. 12 would kind of be a lot. I guess every time you come up with a number, there's 8, there's always going to be a 9th team who wants to be in, so that it becomes 12. So 8 kind of seems more equitable. It seems like it create more of a tournament feel than like a true just semifinals, finals. I think 8 would be, if I had to vote on it, which I don't. They don't care about anything that we say, but 8 would be my pick for if there was an expansion of these playoffs.
All right, let's talk about that Alabama football team. And I mean, obviously they've had their spring, and who do you? I mean, is it Bryce Young's job to lose, or is there going to be some competition there?
I can't really see him losing that job. I mean, just there's not much depth there. I mean, one guy's taken a college snap and he's never thrown a pass. So there isn't any experience behind him. I'd be curious if they test that grad transfer, market and see what's out there. But yeah, I mean, if it's not Bryce Young, it's because Bryce Young got hurt. That's pretty much the bottom line with that.
And I mean, look, I mean, none of us know for sure how he'll play in a tight football game, and that's what I've always. I had Robbie on last week, and we were talking about Emory Jones. I mean, I think Emory Jones is going to be good, but I don't know. I mean, I've never seen him play with the game on the line in the fourth quarter, you know. So I think that's kind of the way Alabama fans feel about Bryce Young, but they're obviously going to put a lot of tools around him.
Yeah, no, he got a little bit of experience last year, late in some of the games. None of them were contested in any way at that point by the time he got into the game. So, you know, he threw some very nice passes. He has those tools. He has the pedigree. You know, he was the number one quarterback in the country 2 years ago. A lot of people were thinking he was going to challenge Mac Jones last season before everything. You know, he didn't have spring practice. He didn't have that same kind of prep time, and that, you know, Mac Jones obviously turned into a first-round quarterback that season. So I think he's, you know, it would be more surprising than not if he wasn't a good quarterback at Alabama, given everything, the way coaches talk about him, the way he's shown himself. I mean, he played pretty well in the 8A game, spring game, when he didn't have pretty much any of his starting receivers out there, either hurt, out with other situations. So he, you know, didn't have a full toolkit, but still looked pretty good out there in the spring game.
And of course, on defense, like, they didn't have enough players, so they get the transfer from Tennessee, Henry. Yeah. It's Totoa, right?
It could be. It's like Tua's last name. I always deferred to Tua just because I was afraid to do it wrong. So I'll go with what you had. It
took me a long time to get Tungavailoa and find out where the G was, and
that always threw me off.
Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, like, he needed more players. He gets him now. What is your gut on what the SEC is going to do in terms of because obviously the rule's been passed that you get the one-time transfer and you don't have to sit out. But within the conference, there is still a rule. There's a lot of feeling that why would the SEC put itself at a disadvantage by limiting you from transferring within the conference and take a player like that and go, no, you go to Ohio State or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like all these other conferences are already passing the rules that would allow the interconference transfer. They'd be bucking the trend. It would be weird for them to do that at this point. It'd be a weird hill to die on because everybody, and they usually try to be the trendsetters. I don't think they aren't the first ones to make this decision, but the others have passed that rule. So I would be surprised if they didn't.
Well, this is going to be an Alabama team that's going to be top 2 or whatever in the preseason polls, and that's something that everybody's used to. But I don't think Nick Saban can now say that we always get it wrong, because we had Florida and Alabama winning the East and the West last year, so maybe we're starting to figure things out.
Yeah, maybe we need to bring that up, because he would always pound that drum every July, and you know, because they would always be picked to win, and he'd always want to defer and act like, oh shucks, we're not that good. We don't want to bring up these expectations. It's all the head games with the players. He doesn't want the players feeling like they're as good as people think they are and that they actually are. But you know, it's all the head games he plays.
Michael, do you think that with all these videos that have leaked of him trying to recruit kids, and the more I see him, the more impressed I am with Nick Saban. Do you think that people have kind of looked at him now differently in the national media and even the SEC media, where they kind of go, man, now I'm starting to see why this is working. And before I just, you know, assumed it was the guy down at Texas Trucking who was giving everybody a free Ford, you know, whatever. But now I think everybody's like, oh, I kind of get it now.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a good sales pitch, and people, those videos have leaked. These kids, you know, will record these video calls since they had to do so many of these, you know, virtual recruiting visits, and yeah, I mean, it's impressive the way the sales pitch, if you will, that he gives these players, and we've always heard players describe them in the sense after the fact of what it was like being recruited by him, but to kind of see it in the actual video of that moment, you can see, you know, that. You know, it's kind of no nonsense. He's not trying to butter you up, or he's not going to turn into a teddy bear on the living room couch, telling you all the fun things that you're going to get to do at Alabama. He pretty much explains what the deal is, what you're going to be able to do, what you can do, what you have to do to get where you want to be, and kind of it's a very adult conversation. It's not like you get to ride jet skis every weekend and parties every Thursday night. It's sort of like, you want to come here if you want to be who you want to be. This is where you want to go. There's evidence to back up the claims too. So it's it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling machine when you're putting guys in the NFL every year. 10 guys drafted this year. You don't have to look too far to point to what the example that these guys are trying to get to.
And I think that's, I wrote a thing about, I guess it was 4 or 5 years ago, about the re-recruiting of players. When you get a player there on your campus, now you've almost got to re-recruit them in the way that you're saying, oh, all that stuff I told you about how much I love you and I was going to take care of you, now I'm going to beat your butt, and you're going to have to do all these things I want you to do. I don't think Nick has to worry about that as much. I think he's told them, here's what I am going to ask of you when you get here. So don't be surprised when you get there, that I'm going to be asking that of you.
And it's the videos go both ways. I mean, they're the videos of Nick Saban on the sideline, tearing into a player, tearing into a coach, doing a Nick Saban ass chewing, as he calls it. And so that's not a secret either. No one's coming there expecting to be, tucked in the bed at night by Nick Saban, read you a bedtime story. I think people know what they're getting into when they get here. He's got enough of a history, a track record. It's well documented. There's nothing that's not on video anymore. So, I don't think people are surprised when they get here.
Before you go, I do want to talk to you about Alabama softball, because obviously the regionals all came out last night. There were a lot of people in the Pac-10 or Pac-12 that are not very happy. Michigan's not very happy. I think Alabama thought they would be 3 because they beat Florida in that final game, and that kind of put Florida at 4. I mean, what was your take on the whole release of? I know that Mr. Murphy was a little surprised Clemson was coming to Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of thing where someone's going to be upset every, like we just talked about the football playoff. There's always the 5th team is going to be upset. The 9th team will be upset if there's an 8th team. And within the 64 teams of softball, there seems to be a lot of unhappiness with the way people were seated, where, who was going to be a host, who was going to be traveling where. I mean, Clemson, I can't claim to be the foremost college softball expert. I kind of get into it at this time of year every year. But from what I understand, Clemson being, I think, 42-6 ACC regular season champions, ranked as high as number 10 in one of the polls. And they're, I don't think they thought they were going to host, but I don't think they thought they were going to be going to the number 3 seed overall. And as a number 3 seed overall, having to play a team in that regional round, it's, it goes both ways. Murphy compared it to 2017 when Alabama was a 16 national seed, and they got Minnesota coming here, and they were the number 1 team in one of the polls. They didn't have the same computer ranking. They didn't have the same strength of schedule, but they were 54-3 coming, without a host, not hosting, and then having to go to Tuscaloosa. So, it is what it is. You're going to have to beat a lot of good teams to get where you want to go anyway. I guess
somebody's going to have to beat Oklahoma. Yeah.
Yeah. There's not, there's not some computer that can just magically sort teams into the perfect, whenever humans are involved, there's going to be human beefs with it, I guess. So, way it goes.
Well, we all want to see another Florida-Alabama matchup, because those I think that's one of the great rivalries in sports that people don't talk about.
Oh yeah, you could tell. Maybe some years more than others. 4 or 5 years ago, I think there was some real tension between players. You could tell that there were, they don't have bench clearing brawls in college softball, but if there ever was a potential, I think there were some Alabama-Florida games that. There were fumes in the air. All it needed was a match. But yeah, it's fun. I think they're both the 2 premier programs in the sport, in the conference. And great coaches. They instill a culture of winning. So it's just kind of two heads butting into each other, and I think it's a great rivalry.
Michael, always a pleasure to talk to you, buddy, and we'll see you down the road, and stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Looking forward to it. Take it easy.
All right, Michael Casagrande, who covers Alabama for 3 different newspapers and AL.com. We appreciate his time on the show. I hope you enjoyed Scott Stricklin as well. And I tell you what we'll do right now. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back, and we'll bang out Leonardo's and Millhopper. This is going to do it, folks. This is your last qualifier. This is like in swimming or track when you have one last chance to qualify for the NCAAs. And so you go there and you put everything into it. This is your last chance. You get this one right, you can get into qualifying. I have the list at home. It's a long list of all the people who have managed to qualify, many of them 2 and 3 times. So you guys have done way better. I don't want to make it harder, though, because I made it easier, and then we get more qualified. There's still only going to be one winner, and what a great package they're going to get. All right, we will talk about that and more. We also have the Adams Ribco to go. Where we were, Tim and I went Thursday night and had a great dinner. We took it home and ate it. We'll have the Gator of the weekend. And again, thanks so much to Adam. I mean, not only does he, just to let you know a little bit about him, Adam's been a great sponsor here, but he supplied an entire dinner for all of the people who were volunteers, people who played in the tournament, fed, I think, 140 people. Tea, food, all this stuff. But that's not enough. He also donated a $100 gift certificate that went for our Dream Weekend. And that's not enough. He also donated a brand new Ping driver for somebody who got pulled out of a hat. He does that every year. The guy's amazing. He is one of the most amazing people in an amazing community. And I tell you what, I love this community more than ever. When I went through with losing my dad, who was so important to me, as you know, the tournament's named after him, and the way people reached out to me, and then for this tournament, the way people reached out to me, never leave at Gainesville. Love you guys. We'll take a break, and we will come back with those 2 things, and then we'll wrap it up for a Monday here on Another Dooley Noted Podcast.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
You can get your favorite alcoholic brands from ABC Fine Wine and Spirits delivered right to your door. ABC Delivers is available in Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, and all of the Southeast Florida. Earn ABC points for coupons and free bottles through abcdelivers.com. It's powered by FedEx Same Day City, and you're going to love the price. Free with a $50 purchase for the first 7 miles. So wine, spirits, beer, and everything you need to celebrate. Get it delivered. Shop abcdelivers.com. Thanks so much to our title sponsors, ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI, and to our pick sponsor, Leonardo's of Millhopper. You can find us live on Facebook and YouTube, or listen at your leisure on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you find all your favorite podcasts. I'm excited to continue this podcast and to have your company on board as a sponsor. If you're interested in being part of the show, email me at patrickdooley54@gmail.com or give me a call, 352-317-3444. All right, I hope you guys had a great weekend. I hope you, it was interesting because I think it was Thursday, when the CDC came out and said you don't have to wear masks if you've been vaccinated anywhere, pretty much. Now, I'm still wearing them in a lot of places, but I'm not wearing them all the time. And for the golf tournament, it was like great that they came out. It was almost like it was on schedule. Dooley's golf tournament's this weekend. We gotta rescind this mask thing. But I still, I think wearing a mask is going to be part of my life the rest of my life in certain situations. And I've got my daughter right now has got the flu. My brother the entire week had the flu and was a wreck. But there are other flus out there, peeps. You know, and that's the thing we all have to understand. You can get sick and feel like crap. So maybe these masks weren't, especially the one I got, it says Bob Dooley Invitational on it. Kind of like that. So we'll continue that. But anyway, one thing I did have a revelation about this weekend. I went to the baseball game Sunday, and I watched Saturday night. But I realized, because Sunday was the national championship for the FCS, and I realized I thought I loved football so much that I could watch ants play a game in the front yard. That I could watch anything. And it turns out it's not true. Now, I will say this. A year ago at this time, I'd have watched the game. But I just didn't care. I didn't have a dog in the race. It's kind of like the Kentucky Derby. Didn't have a horse in the show. I just didn't care. And so when I have to care. I don't know if it's a new thing with me or it's always been that way. I really need to care. And I didn't care about who won that game. And so and it didn't have ramifications down the road. It wasn't SEC. Am I getting too provincial? Am I being that guy? Am I making people get off my lawn? Pull their pants up? I don't want to be that guy. But the funny thing is, my football love, the love I have for the game of football, most people will say is way over the top. And now I realize it is over the top, but it's not as over the top as all these people I keep hearing talk about what a great game that was. I'm trying to think. Sam Houston State won the national championship by beating somebody. I don't even remember who it was. Just didn't do it for me. Sorry. So I know. Now maybe I'm changing. Maybe I'm just into the bigger games. We'll see. Just kind of weird. All right, it is time right now for the Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. And again, incredible job by Kyle Cohen at Leonardo's. Their tent was one of the 3 best tents as well. I'm just going to leave it at that. There were 3 incredible tents out there where people were just having a ridiculously good time. And Tara out there was tremendous. Kyle, love him so much. And we talked for a long time after the tournament. And they're on board again for next year, as is Titan MRI. What a job they did. Not only that, but he provided pizzas the night before the tournament for a little soiree we had, and then pizzas on the hole that he had. So they went through a lot of free pizzas, and I appreciate that. Don't think I don't understand what the sacrifice you're making when you do something like that. But they were tremendous out on that hole. All right, so the quick picks. This is it. Your last qualifier, and we will draw on Friday. In fact, I may bring Robbie in for a special drawing. Maybe not. Because we have 2 really good guests, by the way, Friday. Pat Forty, who's one of my favorite writers from Sports Illustrated, of course, SI.com, will be joining us, in Brayton Gall, who just got finished putting out the Athlon football section, so we can talk to him about that and some of the things they do. They used to do some really funny. It's not just and I'm not ripping Phil Steele. Phil Steele's more nuts and bolts. They tend to take higher opinions and do different things, so that'll be kind of cool. I'm looking forward to have Braden Gall on. All right, so your last chance to qualify, and here it is. It's simple, and you don't have to stay up and watch the game, but Golden State and the Lakers are playing a playing game that's not really a playing game, and it's definitely not a play-out game, but they're playing that Wednesday night, 10 o'clock. Give me a winner. I know you're all going to say the Lakers, okay? I know you are. Steph Curry, watch out now. Just finished, won the scoring championship. 31, I got it written down here somewhere. 31.8 points a game, I think he averaged, something like that. Yeah, there it is, 31.8. So that's pretty good. And he's carried that team. I don't know if he can carry him again, but that is the Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. Your last chance to qualify, and then we'll pull a name on Friday, and we have a bunch of stuff to give you. Some stuff, it's, to be honest with you, stuff we could have, that we held back from the tournament. I said, no, I'm also holding it back for the Leonardos at Millhopper Quick Pick. So that'll be a lot of fun. You'll win some good stuff. There'll be some shirts in there and some hats and maybe some gift certificates. I got to double check on one thing. All right. I probably should have been more prepared for that, but by Friday I'll know what's going on. All right, so thanks so much again to Kyle for that. Now it is time to wrap it up with one of our favorite segments, the Adams Ribco To Go Gator of the Weekend. And again, I highly recommend you guys go over to Adams Rib To Go, which is over there right in the old, it wasn't a Hungry Howie's, what was it? It was a pizza place. I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, right near Yo3 Metro, right down from Cedar River Seafood. And we've worked on a commercial, Evan and I, and we're going to have that up for you soon as well for that. It is great. The food is unbelievable as always, but I think it's better because you can grab it. They'll come right out to your car, take it home. Where I live, it's perfect. It's still hot. I'm enjoying it. I had a great meal Thursday night. But the Adams Ribco Gator of the Week and it was kind of hard to choose because a lot of people kind of fell short. Now, lacrosse didn't fall short, but it was just kind of their hero was the same one we did before, if you remember. So here's how I decided to go with was Kendall Lindemann, of course, who's done a great job for the softball team. And during this SEC tournament, 6 RBI, including a 3-run. Now, here's the thing. The Mississippi State game, she had a 3-run homer that basically won the game. I mean, they were down 2-0. She had a 3-run homer in the 5th. They ended up getting another 3-run homer, won the game 6-2. But she had the game-winning hit. Then in the next game, she tied the game at 7 against Missouri, and Florida ended up winning that game after they'd given up 4 in the top of the 7th inning there. And then she had only one of the 3 hits against, is it Montana Fouts? Is that her name? I think that's her name. The pitcher from Alabama was really good. I mean, she was crazy good in that game. Florida had 3 hits in the game. She got one of them. So that's the best. What are you going to do? So it is. She had a great weekend, and she did her best. Florida just came up a little short. It's not the end of the world, obviously. And I can't wait to watch the regionals on Friday, at 2 o'clock. We'll have a show at 2 o'clock. I know. You're probably going to go to the game. Well, you can listen to it later. Or you can just watch us on YouTube and Facebook if you didn't want to go to the game. Maybe have it on another screen. I'll try to update you when I can. Is that okay? That's going to do it for another Duly Noted podcast. Thanks so much to Evan, who does a great job of making me look better than I look, but still not good because it's impossible. And thanks to Freddie Wiebe, and thanks to everybody. And thanks to you, Gainesville. You made for another unbelievable Bob Dooley Invitational. And I know Dad took care of the weather, and I appreciate that too, Dad. Till next time, I am Pat Dooley. I'm deep, I'm way back, and I am out of here.